take that off the screen and put our program? Yes, that would be helpful. Okay, we're just going to continue, and I have a program. It's not a Passover Seder. There are only a few prayers we're going to do, and then members of the family are going to share some thoughts. At the meal of condolence afterwards, people from the larger community, if you choose, are welcome to say a few words after I read some that have been sent into the faith. So we're beginning with words that traditionally said to families. You can see most of the words, so please join with me. Amakom Yonatem Etfen Etov Shar Abelis Yom Yerushalayim. This is for all of us to the Lavoot family. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. The goal of Jewish life is to appreciate that we're not alone and to accept the support when various events happen in your life. The mitzvah, the commandment, the beautiful act you're doing today is called in our tradition, Nichum Avelim, comforting mourners. Many people find it difficult to be around anything associated with death, but this is exactly when the Lavoot family needs your support, so I'm grateful that you're here. Yesterday, we had the beginning of the ritual of setting Ted off in a prescribed way. So today we will make allusion, as we are about to something we did, and then there'll be a couple of readings, and then an opportunity to give people a chance to reflect on their own memories of Ted of blessed memory, and then family members, as I said, will come forward. There is a custom in our tradition to have a ribbon on your clothing for a child on the left side, for every other family member on the right. And it symbolizes the tear in the hearts of the individuals and also in the fabric of the community. We engaged in that class yesterday. If you see the words, it's really not important if you do, because the goal is to bring God into the conversation when you're feeling alone. And in addition to our community, it's good to know that the holy community of our people and the many that are represented here are here to give support to the Lavoot. Psalm 15. Who deserves to stand in God's sanctuary? Who could merit a place in the presence of God? The one who lives with integrity, does what is right, and speaks the truth without deceit. The one who has no slander upon his tongue and does no evil to his neighbor. The one who spurns a contemptible person, but honors those who revere God. One who never retracts a promise once made, though it may bring them harm. If you make these your own, then your name shall stand firm forever. His name is going to stand firm forever. He was a mensch, and I'm grateful that I had a chance to meet him. I did visit with him the day before he died, and we talked about a variety of matters. I'll touch on some later. I mentioned a few minutes ago that one of my mentors, Rabbi Harold Schulweis, has a beautiful reading. It's entitled On Consolation, so I'll read this. And then a beautiful poem called The Gaps. Some of you may be familiar with Linda Ellis's poem. Rabbi Schulweis's words are as follows. Let not the last hours eclipse the entire life. Let not the pain of forgetfulness, the suffering, negate the joy, the memory, and the exaltation of life. Nothing decent, nothing noble, no gesture of love, no smile of encouragement is swallowed up by death. In memory, there is the resurrection of the life of the Spirit. Memory is our hold on the past, our solace in the present, and our hope for the future. Memory has a life of its own, an afterlife, a transfusion of one life to others. The beloved, that is Ted, who gave you life, who enriched your lives and shared with you life, pass on to you a miraculous spark. May that spark illumine your path and brighten your way. These readings are just to set the tone. What's most important is what the family will share, but one last to set the tone. the dash. Between the date that we arrive and the date we go away, there exists a horizontal line that captures every single day. And because these days we are living seem to vanish in a flash, we need to make the most of that special little dash. We are blessed with opportunities as we tread the grounds of earth to build a loving legacy. Our own dash will be worth. To focus on what matters, not on things we have owned or bought, and smile every chance we get, and love with all we've got. For the duties of our daily life, the job, the house, the cash, affect the way we get to live our tiny little dash. So appreciate the here and now, as each moment will unfold, because we are never told beforehand how much time our dash will hold. Do not spend this time with worries, bitterness, and fear. The future may be uncertain, but right now, your dash is here. If you need to make some changes, let this be the day you start to make a difference with your life. Show the love that is in your heart. For how you spend this life will someday be defined by everything that is remembered in the dash you leave. Ted clearly understood this and spread love wherever he went. So let's take a moment. As I said, I would be providing a moment of silence for everyone here to pause and reflect. Whether you're a member of Brotherhood in our synagogue and you saw Ted monthly at our meeting sitting next to Ted, taking orders for the beautiful shade of blue that the shirts and the hoodies came in. He was really so happy to see that I was wearing that powder blue hoodie when I saw him in the hospital. He never stopped giving back. He gave selflessly throughout his life in a myriad of ways that he served as a volunteer. Let's take that moment of silence, and then I will call up a few people. So there are going to be different people speaking. So as I said, other people, including the ones whose works have been handed to me, will be shared at the meal of condolence. The family does invite you to share at that time. But right now, I'd like to call forward a dear member of the extended Lavoot family, Marla Floyd.
I would do this without tears. But I am privileged to honor Ted today. Synchronicity is a concept that describes a remarkable coincidence in life. And some, if you're as fortunate as I, develop into meaningful linkages. That's what happened to me and my family when we became next door neighbors. Mary and Ted, essentially being a second set of parents, guardian angels of sorts throughout my life. And Howard, we were playmates during holidays and adult friendship with each other along with our spouses and even the same birthday. They have been with me for all but a very few of the earliest years of my life. Ever present in joyous times, sentinel moments, as well as life's hours of darkness and storms. I am forever appreciative of their kindnesses and consideration to both of my parents, and especially my mom. Some people make the world more special just by being in. As with Ted, his quiet strength, adherence to his faith and beliefs, and a balancing presence was always felt. He provided interesting insights, intellectual banter, along with encouragement in ways seen and unseen. I have always admired the dedicated and continuous contributions that both Terry and Ted have made to a variety of communities and causes. Their generosity of spirit, their volunteerism, and financial support are exemplary examples to have grown up with and witnessed. A lasting impact, not necessarily recognized at the particular moment, but months or years later providing a guide on life's path. A river keeps flowing, and one day it merges into the ocean. The river ceases to exist, but the ocean still exists. The river becomes the ocean. This is all to say that although Ted may not be with us in an earthly sense, he will always be carried deeply in our hearts and our souls of all of us who love him so dearly. For sure, he will be longed for and missed. So I end these brief words with gratitude and an abundance of love, knowing that his spirit continues to watch over us.
Thank you.
I'm gonna the first reading this is on behalf of Ted's niece. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandy McNett, and I am the niece of Ted and Terry and cousin to Howard and Penny. I truly wish I could be with you all today. I am grateful, though, for the chance to speak about my Uncle Ted, who I miss very much. I'm especially thankful that I had spoken with him the Friday before he passed. I remember thinking about calling him again, but decided to wait in case he needed more rest. Then the call came from Penny that he was gone. When we talked, it was usually to check in with each other, and he always spoke about his family, Terry, Howard, Penny, Heather, Jason, and Zoe, and of course their dogs, Misty and Sammy. He loved you all so much. He didn't always say it directly, but I could hear it in his voice every time. I am sending all of you my love, my hugs, and my prayers. My most recent memories are of listening to him talk about growing up on Mill Street in the Quincy Point area of Quincy, Massachusetts, where he was born and raised as the oldest of 4 children, Ted, Diane, Stevie, and Sandy Samuel. Like many in his family, he was an avid Red Sox fan, and later as a Californian, he also became an Anaheim Angels fan. He would share stories from where they grew up about the Red Sox player who lived just a street or two over. I believe it was Sam Millay, who later became a scout for the Sox after his playing career at 50. Listening to my family reminisce about those days was something I always enjoyed, and those moments still stand out in my mind. Some of my earliest memories of him are from when he would fly back east to Massachusetts to visit his mother, father, sister Diane, and his lovely niece, me, Sandy, as well as many other family members and friends he and Aunt Terry had here. Often his visits were a surprise. I would find out when he suddenly appeared at my grandparents' house. I'm not sure it was meant to be a surprise for me, but I always loved their visits. I remember how much it meant to my mom and grandparents whenever they came. He would often be here on business trips. Sometimes Aunt Terry would come with him, and sometimes my Uncle Steve would fly in from Texas. In later years, Howard and Aunt Penny would visit as well, sometimes arriving separately, sometimes together, planning their trips so they could see their parents at the same time. Those were wonderful visits filled with family and togetherness. One of my sweetest memories is from when I was about 4 years old, and Uncle Ted and Uncle Steve were visiting at the same time. I had slept over at my grandparents' house, and when I woke up the next morning, they were sitting at the kitchen table enjoying breakfast while my grandmother cooked for them and my Zadie. These moments are precious to me, and I cherish them deeply. When I was young, Uncle Ted always goofed around with me. He made everything fun. He and Terry and Uncle Steve are also an important part of my becoming a bar mitzvah in 1984, which meant so much to me. Over the years, I wish I could have seen them more often, but the memories we do have, sharing meals at family favorite restaurants and spending time at our local temples when we visited, remain vivid in my mind and heart. Uncle Ted, along with Aunt Terry, Howard, and Penny, has always been loving to our family, including me. There may have been many miles between Massachusetts and California, but there was never any distance between our hearts. I also think of the loved ones who passed before he did, and all the moments intertwined with those memories. The sound of my mom's laughter during her phone calls with him, the conversations about sports, the Patriots win, the joy when the Red Sox finally won the World Series, and the happiness in my grandmother's voice whenever she spoke with or visited him. In our last conversation, he ended, as he often did, with, "Dear, those words stay with me. Uncle Ted, I love you and I miss you. I know you were here. Thank you for everything." I just need to. Okay. Okay, this is for you. Good morning, and thank you all for being here to honor and celebrate the life of Ted Lavoot. It means so much to our family to see how many of you cared about him and were touched by his presence. Ted was many things to many people: a devoted husband, a loving father, a caring brother, a proud grandfather, and a loyal friend. But to me, he was my father-in-law. From the very first moment he met me and Heather, he welcomed us into his family with open arms. He was kind, warm, and accepting, making us feel like we belonged from day one. If Howard loved us, Ted did too, and he meant that wholeheartedly. I remember our wedding during the parents' speech, he told everyone I was already part of their family. I knew he meant every word. Long before that day, I remember Howard describing his parents while we were dating, how they had been married for so many years, how we grew up in the same home his entire childhood. I remember thinking how lucky Howard was to have that stability and security, something I did not experience myself, having moved many times as a child and my parents being divorced. Made me appreciate even more the kind of home Ted worked so hard to build. Ted was an incredibly giving person in every aspect of his life. But what stands out to me the most is what he gave to Howard: true love, attention, and guidance. The values he instilled in his son: hard work, commitment to community, honesty, integrity, trustworthiness, kindness, shaped the remarkable person Howard is today. Ted showed him every day what it meant to be a good husband, a devoted father, and a caring human being. Ted loved coming to our home for the holidays, especially the Jewish holidays, always enjoying a good meal, a warm table, and time with family. Those gatherings, those simple dinners, are memories I will always treasure. He showed love in quiet, meaningful ways. One of the things I'll never forget is how he visited my mom when she moved to Heritage Point Assisted Living, and visiting my dad when he was in the boarding care home. He never told me he was going, he just went. My family was his family. There was never any question about that. Ted was a man who showed up. He never missed a milestone. My college graduations, Heather's elementary school, middle school, high school, and college graduations. He was always there, always proud, cheering us on. He didn't need to say he cared. You simply knew it by the way he treated people. Ted was more than a title or a role. He was someone whose quiet strength, gentleness, and steady love shaped our lives in ways we will feel forever. He never sought attention, but he had a way of making everyone around him feel seen, valued, and supported. He taught us not through lectures, but through the way he lived, with integrity, humility, and an open heart. There are moments we hold on to always: the warmth of his presence at family dinners, his dry humor, the pride in his eyes at every graduation, the way he showed up, not just for his own family, but for mine. These memories are gifts, reminders of the love he shared and the legacy he leaves behind. He loved his family with a quiet, unwavering devotion. You could feel it in his reliability, his kindness, and his steady presence, and his desire to make sure everyone around him was cared for. His love was constant and dependable, and we will carry that with us always. While today we feel deep weight of his presence, we also feel profound gratitude. Gratitude for his light, for the example he set, for the love he gave so freely, and for the lasting imprint he leaves on all of us. His legacy is not just in his accomplishments, but on the kindness he showed, the lessons he taught, and the memories that will stay with us forever. As we say goodbye to Ted, we honor the beautiful life he lived and the extraordinary impact he had on each of us. Though we'll miss him more than words can express, his spirit will continue to guide us and the love we shared, the choices we made, and the lives we lead. Thank you, Ted, for everything. We love you and will carry you with us always. And thank you for being here today, John.
Thank you. The original outline had letter to be read from cousins Howard and Barbara Lerner of the Stones. We're so sorry to hear about Ted's passing. We will always cherish the wonderful times we spent together. Ted was dedicated, sharp, and deeply caring. Someone who showed his love to both friends and family in everything that he did. We will miss the vacations that we shared, the bar and bat mitzvahs, the weddings, and the many enjoyable cruises we took together, whether out on the ocean or along the rivers of Europe. One especially memorable experience was our day on the Intrepid in New York. Ted had been selected from a lottery of nearly 30,000 people who had served on the Intrepid during its active years. He joined about 100 officers on the journey that brought the ship back from maintenance. Ted was among the officers who carried a large American flag. And we had the honor of following the Intrepid in a chase boat as it returned to its permanent berth in New York Harbor. It was a day we will never forget. Terry's parents were close friends with Barbara's parents for more than 50 years, and that bond eventually made us family as well. Our own friendship grew from that connection and continued throughout our 60 plus years of marriage. It's a friendship we will always hold. Howard, if you could come forward.
This is from remembering my favorite Hoffman Electronics boss from one of his employees, Maggie Frugget. It's dear Mrs. Lavoot, I received word from Angela Cece's wife, Arlene, regarding Ted's memory and memorial service. I'm so sad to learn that he had passed. I hope it was peaceful and he was surrounded by dear family. He had changed her name from Maggie Spivak to Maggie Frugget. She was the secretary for Ted in the late 60s and 70s, and fond memories that might jog your insight. I still display my lovely plaque that was given to me in recognition for my support for the Golden Harvest Ball. It was a gala that the neighborhood sponsored. Ted would give me pages of information that needed to be condensed and typed on a 1 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It was surely a task to include every word. I left so much as 1 inch of empty space. He found more information to cram into it. The neighborhood meant a lot to him. His priority of engineering things were included. I also still proudly display my certificates from the neighborhood trees planted in the forest in Israel to honor and to gratitude my support. that was planted by the Anaheim Covenant Lodge. It was touching, and Ted would occasionally surprise me with one of the lovely corsages. Thank you very much. That he had worn at various events. And they were gorgeous. Some of the orchids were rather large and they were waved at me as I typed. I quickly learned that the best way to display them was in a pretty crystal dish on my desk instead of hanging them on my blouse. When I resigned from Hoffman Electronics, my letter was very brief. It stated that the only regret in leaving the company would be no longer working for Ted. He was smart, hardworking professional with kind heart, and fine sense of humor. He'll never forget your favorite boss, sincere condolences, warmly, Maggie Frogin. Next, I'm reading this on behalf of my uncle Raymond, which is my mom's brother. Dad will be greatly missed. I would like to relate my memories of Ted through the eyes of a young boy. Terry was a volunteer at the USO in Virginia and met Ted. When Terry brought Ted home, I was not happy. Who was a stranger taking my sister's time away from me? When they started seeing each other, I was not happy. And announced they were going to get married. I was not happy. And they moved away. I was really not happy. As the years passed, I got to know Ted. He was such a wonderful man. Ted was the greatest person that I could have come into our family, which was the Schreier family. Jerry and Ted shared over 65 years together. No one could compare. Surely it was a wonderful life. All our love. Raymond and Sandy, my uncle and aunt. For those that may not know me, my name is Howard, and I'm the son of Ted Lavoot. Thank you all, both here in person and afar, for being here today to honor and remember my father, Ted Lavoot. Your presence means so much to our family and is a testament to the love and respect you inspired so many people. Over the past days, through emails, cards, texts, phone calls, conversations, people shared words describing my dad. Kind, generous, loving, friendly, sweet, considerate, helpful, knowledgeable, wonderful. Every single one of those words were true. Dad proudly served in the Navy as a seaman and rescue specialist. He flew in helicopters, performed sea rescues, and saved lives. 58 years later, he received a Medal of Honor for his service. I was incredibly proud of him. We visited many military museums, storage ships together, and he loved to tell me stories from his Navy days as we grew older. I was born November 5th, 1960 in Quincy, Massachusetts, the same city where my father was born. I was the first grandchild on both sides, and we lived here for the first 40 years of my life. Dad was attending Northeastern University and then applied for jobs across the country. When he accepted a job at North American Anaheim, he packed up our family and drove across the country in 8 weeks. I think my mom had something to do with that for packing. Wherever the front seat went, the back seat followed. We made many trips back east for happy occasions over the years. When I was 8, Dad became Weeble Scoutmaster with another gentleman here in the audience with his son, just so he could spend more time. Dad attended graduations after his retirement. Both Mom and Dad volunteered at Stockton Elementary School in the library program. He even attended the school's 50th anniversary celebration. We shared good laughs when he recognized some of my old teachers with memorable names, such as Miss Rainey, Miss Fox, Miss Wolf, Miss Katz. During my school years, Dad was always supportive. Award assemblies, helped with my science projects, worked with me on my homework with math. When I ran for vice president in 7th grade, he even came up with a campaign slogan, "Root and toot for Howard Lavoot." When I was 12, he showed up at my Anaheim Parks and Recreation games, cheering me on from the sidelines playing softball. Over the years, we had several reunions at the ballpark and at restaurants with old teammates, now adults with their children. Mom and Dad always came along. Last reunion was a year ago, and they loved every moment of reconnecting with the team. Throughout life, Dad was deeply involved with Jewish organizations as an officer in chairmanships. He even served as my advisor when I was in ACA, young youth, ages 13, 18. Together, we helped fund many youth activities, including a concert in the 70s, where a young band called Van Halen performed in Pasadena. $2.50. Dad was raised in an Orthodox home, but after moving to Anaheim, we belonged to conservative synagogue as well as Puritan Method in Reform, and remained an active member for 56 years. He was a proud and observant Jew and loved celebrating the holidays. He made several trips to Israel and installed in me that he loved for faith and temple. Dad had his first bar mitzvah at age 13. When you live another 70 years in the Jewish tradition, you can have another one at 83. He worked so hard to prepare for it, right here, in the very spot where I stand today. And mine was in 1973 at age 13. Took place in the back social hall when we had to be in the back then and remodeled. Dad and I started bowling together when I was 13. He had grown up bowling in Quincy, Massachusetts. Really played candlepin bowling. He was also a pin setter. We bowled in bowling leagues for over 30 years together, participated in national bowling tournaments for 13 years and traveled to many cities throughout the U.S. His father and son. I remember those memories. Even when he could no longer attend in recent years, teammates would always ask about him. This past year, when he joined me at the bowling alley, he was still coaching me. He loved sports, played basketball in high school. We spent countless hours in attending games, watching TV. He liked the Boston Red Sox, Boston Celtics, the New England Patriots, had a soft spot for the Anaheim Angels, of course. He was thrilled when I won the Temple raffle to watch the game in the Angel Suite. We played on softball teams for 20 years. He helped organize the Jewish softball league in Orange County in the 80s, from 4 teams to 16 teams. When I was 27, we worked at Northrop Aerospace for 6 years. We carpooled, had lunch together. He was a project manager and I was a inventory analyst. We both contributed to the development of the B-2 stealth bomber. And every time a B-2 appeared in a flyover at a sporting event or parade, he felt proud. I would never attend a bowling tournament or angel game without feeling that he's right beside me, rooting me on with other teams. How many children can say that? I know I'm one of the lucky ones. As I write this eulogy, stuck with me how fortunate I was to have a father who loved and supported me. It was truly a best friend. Teammate, life. Spent time together. Saying things bold, play softball. In relation, we were co-presidents. He took the day shift and I took the night shift. I really enjoyed attending meetings, not out of obligation, but because he genuinely enjoyed the company. On which my identity and interest reflects something. We served together as, he was secretary of the and shared numerous things. He cried in, different, clothing lines of, as was mentioned, hats, shirts, aprons, hoodies, ties. I think we were gonna go into socks and underwear. He was honored as Man of the Year, attended many temple programs, which was very proud. By attending the seeing Super Bowl, All-Star games, World Series on the big TV. You go to the Angel games. Got me at a young age the importance of giving back. His leadership and strength will continue to guide me as I've been involved today. Dad may be gone from my sight, but will never be gone from my heart. It's impossible to forget someone who gave me so much. When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. There'll never be a day that I don't love him or miss him. If I learned anything from him that I can share with you, it is this. When your dad says he doesn't need anything for special occasions, he just wants a hug, smile, and ask how you're doing, and share a meal together. He only wants to know that you're happy. And to be the world too.
Thank you, Howard. A mentor of mine, the late Rabbi David Ellenson, who was the leader of the Reform movement's academic wing. I heard him say to feel that words from the heart go to the heart, and our hearts are full. So thank you to those who have been able to speak so far. I'm honored to follow his wife of almost 66 years, Terry.
Do I know if I can finish this speech? I'm not sure. Especially as I look here and see that this sanctuary is almost filled with a few spots empty. It shows that every one of you had some sort of path that you crossed with Ted. As Howard said, we thank you as a family for all of you being here. And those who are able to watch, we hope that you will see the attention and love that he got. For each one of us, we have special memories. And we think of this as we miss Ted. Ted did not live a really easy life. He had many issues at home and many issues to deal with. But there were people out there who somehow saw his potential and helped him to achieve his professional life and to become part of my life. I met him when I was 17, married him between 19 and 20 after he stole me from another boy. No kidding. just a commentary, 45 years later, we connected with this old boyfriend and his wife. And we remained friends until he passed away in 2017. We did trips with them too, so they were friends until he took me away. And as my brother said, my family wasn't thrilled, but they fell in love with Ted immediately. As you heard from his secretary of over 50 years ago, I think that says a lot for his professional life. So I really won't go into that, except to say everyone who knew him said he was an engineer's engineer. He was analytical. He taught me how to negotiate. He taught me how to analyze varied things. Took me into an investment club. Taught me how to buy a stock or two. And they were good buys. He was a devoted dad. As Howard said, there isn't a lot for me to add to that, except that he wanted his son to have what he didn't. And that was participation and opportunity to deal with helping other young guys who either didn't have a dad due to a death or due to a divorce. And we adopted a lot of kids. Molly explained a lot too. And sitting on the other end of the table or the chairs is Joy. She too became a part of our family and like a second daughter, one that we didn't have. So we kind of grabbed at both of them who have all these years given us their love and attention. And I have to say, both of them traveled a lot further than anybody else here. Joy came from Vegas and Mala came from Sonoma to be with us today. I looked back on activities, as Howard mentioned, Ted's Jewish background. 50 some odd years as chairman for the Jewish National Fund. He made sure that his group purchased several hundred trees a year. And they also, after Israel started doing things other than tree planting, buying fire equipment, buying water equipment, he always saw to it that they raised enough funds to donate to those. And along with Joy's dad, they ran a fireworks stand that brought in that money for over 50 years. Amazing to think that Howard and Joy and her sister sat in the corner of a fireworks stand with their coloring books and things while we sold the material. The kids never really had a July 4th until a week or two later, because we were out there until, in those days, they let us stay open until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And people were still coming to buy. And most of the time, we didn't have much merchandise to return. His legacy will live on in the people he touched and lessons he shared. He was good to the people I worked with, some of the single parents that didn't know much about health. What do you call it? Flex Select, where you could put some money in and you didn't pay tax and things, or how to go into IRAs when the state allowed us to do that. And they were forever grateful. He also took on an A personality. Me. He was more in the B plus, quiet and unassuming, but always granted me my independence for doing what I wanted, going to school, working, participating. You heard about the many trips that we made with our cousins and things. But he always was a sharing husband, changed diapers, put clothes in the washer and took them out and folded, did, put them in the dishwasher. We never had separation of activities. It wasn't, well, that's yours, this is mine, I earn, you do the, you do work in the house. Never, that was not Ted. He held my hand through breast cancer. He held my hand through miscarriages. We were really lucky. Howard was our first try. And we got a wonderful, wonderful son who brought us a wonderful family. We always talked about Penny as the shining light in our life, and Heather came along with that package. And now we have Zoe, a little cutie 5-year-old. Unreal how our family, as little as we were, kind of expanded. We thank him for loving us and dealing with your illnesses with such courage and dignity. Howard mentioned one of the biggest moments in his life about receiving the award for, and it was not a Medal of Honor, folks. It was a medal that was called the Marine Navy Medal for Heroism. And what it pertained to was he was part of a helicopter crew that went along on the big aircraft carriers and watched to make sure that the pilots were able to come back on the ship. And if they landed in the water, he was one of those who went in after them if they couldn't get out of their parachutes. And so it took 58 years to get that. And if anybody wants to, I think it's still online with the Orange County Register for September 2014. And if you want to read that, see that and read that. His military life prepared him to be successful professionally and a very good negotiator. He didn't go there. He went with a double E degree and he wanted to be a design engineer. And instead he became a government negotiator for Northrop, for Gould Corporation. And prior to that, the letter that Howard read from his first real secretary. Prior to that, he had, I guess you would call it a secretarial pool. But then he became the first real secretary. And he was so proud that he had reached that point in his work field. To all of you, I say thank you so much for being with us. I know that you all will have a place in your heart to remember what Ted meant to you and where he crossed your path. And boy, he crossed a lot of paths over the years. And before I end, I do have one person that I didn't tell the rabbi that I wanted to do a speech here because it's really important to us based on the fact that when you go in there, you might be talking among yourselves and not hear all of the people who might come to the mic. So I'd like to call on, I don't know, you guys come out as a family, Gloria, Lynette? Sorry. I don't. These three ladies are neighbors. They live across the street from us. We met when they bought their house. This one was 6 months old. She wasn't even a glimmer yet. And unfortunately, they've lived through some rough times too. They lost their husband and father when they were all very, very young. but they've grown into wonderful, wonderful young women. And Mama, I'm so proud of her because she went on to get her degree and become a professor at Santa Ana College. And um, they call us their Anaheim grandparents. So they have a little speech that they wanted to share with all of you. This is Lynette, Gloria, and Mama Lucy.
Everyone. Our family has lived across the street from Terry and Ted for 30 years now. In that time, they became family with us, not neighbors like a lot of people have. Um, and as Terry said, we started calling them our Anaheim grandparents because that's what they were to us. Our grandparents are in Kenya. They don't speak English. And at dance recitals and plays and graduations, Mary and Ted were the ones who were in the audience rooting for us, along with the Sutherlands and Miranda Cooks were in the back. And this was how we really got to know Terry and Ted. And Ted was always, as people have said, quiet and thoughtful and so incredibly kind and smart and generous. Such an absolute blessing to know. He was always someone who had the answer, who knew where to look. And what we loved most was how absolutely caring and constant and steady he was. We grew up with Ted in our lives. This is honestly the first time we have known life without Ted. And now we have to relearn how to adjust to that. Yeah, that I don't know how else to demonstrate that he was someone who we could all really rely on. Gloria actually put it best that he was our Mr. Rogers because you'd see him walking the dogs down the street and you knew it was going to be a good day and you could go about your day with a smile no matter what came at work or school. You just felt very welcomed, very seen, and yeah, we loved listening to him talk about their travels or things that he had watched or bowling tournaments with Howard. And our neighborhood just won't be the same without him. We are really, really grateful that we got to spend these years with him and the memories that we have, and that we had him as part of our family, and that we have Terry and their beautiful family as part of our family too. So thank you. And I'll just close by saying that he'll be very deeply missed, and may his memory be a blessing to all of us who have been fortunate enough to love him. Thank you.
I want to say three things. One, Liz Scully was announcing a baseball game. It was the Dodgers against the Reds. And a hitter came up for Cincinnati. His name was Kevin Mensch. So clearly someone had told Vinny, who was not Jewish, what a Mensch was. They said, you know, a Mensch is a kind, upstanding man. And that's what Ted was. His family described him as welcoming, kind, generous, caring, concerned about others. He did not speak just to speak. He was loving. And when he did speak, you know there was something important that he was going to share. You've heard a lot. And if you want to hear more from me, you can come back for synagogue on any given Friday. It was always so beautiful to see Ted with his family. It was last year over the holidays. The last thing I want to say is that his Hebrew name is Tuvia, and we'll share that in a prayer for his soul in a moment. The two parts of that are tov, which means good, and yah, like hallelujah, praise God. He lived might be a stretch, but it feels correct for the Hebrew speakers. Maybe you'll agree that he was good in God's eyes. Like he understood the essence of what it meant to be a human. I'll close by saying the Ten Commandments say you shall respect your mother and your father. It sort of puts familiar love as having a baseline of respect. But it's clear that love permeated the generations in both directions. Now, Ted didn't take, in terms of being a parent, the minimalist position. I am grateful that Howard shared the many ways that Ted went far above and beyond what the Torah dictates in familial relationships should be. He will be missed. He was kind. He was caring. And I will say it's really exemplary the way that his family took care of him. Since I've been the rabbi here, he had a health scare in the parking lot. Every other time since he recovered and came back, he was right behind his family. Some of us would jump in a little bit if the rug at the front was a little warped and we were worried about Ted. But he made sure that he was at every meeting. He would joke that he needed to get a shirt in a smaller size, and Terry said, the one you're wearing is just a little too big. He gave from his heart, and I know that all of us are better because we knew Ted. One of the words on my graduation diploma from rabbinical school is teacher. So our homework is, when you turn the ringer back on your phones, if that's your thing, remember that you're holding a direct device, a device that connects, directly with the Lavoot family. It's not like Pac-Man where Commissioner Gordon was be able to speak to the police chief, and that was the only way. We all have the capacity to speak to the adopted daughters, to his son, to his son-in-law, to his granddaughter and his wife. And let them know in moments of great Ted-ness, meaning you see something outstanding that reminds you of Ted, or you decide, oh, what would Ted do? And you do that. Please let them know. I'll close by saying our tradition has gradations of mourning, 7, 30, 7 days, 30 days, and then 11 months. So it means that grief is something that we don't feel just evaporates after we finish the last piece of whatever the sweetness is that we'll be enjoying today. And then again tonight, we have a service at 7, so the family can say the memorial prayers. It's our obligation to continue on an ongoing basis to remember the best of who Ted was and share that with the family. That is the way his memory will continue to live on. And it also means we have to have a listening ear for the family, because there's nothing magical we can say. He was a good man. We wish he was still with us. But it's our job to be there for you. At this point, there are 2 prayers we're going to say. One is the 23rd Psalm. So I will share it, and then I'll say a prayer for his soul, and then we'll do the mortar Scottish. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in the green meadows, leading me beside still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. If it appears, you're welcome to read with me. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Please rise for the prayer to where we pray for peace, for Ted's soul to continue its peaceful travels unto heaven. Exalted and compassionate God, with infinite rest in your sheltering presence, among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Tuvia and Mordecai, Levi, the Evelyn, Ed, the son of Max and Evelyn, who's gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life, and may he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. The memorial prayer that ends most of our services is now going to be said each week for 11 months with Ted's name leading that list. And so his memory will continue to be present. And we'll remember that sweet Ted smile as I did at my last visit. I hope it puts all of us in a better spot. The Morris Kaddish. Ikadal Mikadash Lemiramba. Bialma Tifra Irate Yabik Mapate. Vasaye Phone Yome Phone Vasaye de Ho Beit Israel. Vaagala Ubisman Kari Bibruba Bit. Yehich Me Rabba Memorat Bela Bomeo Maya. Ipara Pistava Pito Arbitro Mampita Se. Pista Dar Pista Le Pita Lal Shemedi Kudusha Beri. The Islamic Core Fatab Shirata. Dusman Hatab the Nifamata. Dani Rabbi Allah the Ru Amen. Yehich Flamarava Bishmaya Vasai. Aledo. About full Israel, but Koyos Tevel. Hebrew, Amen. The last line is Oseh Shalom. Let's sing that, and that'll take us to that'll be our transition to the meal of consolation. Oseh Shalom, B'Rabah. Oseh Shalom, Let's keep it slow. I was not technically advised to do this. I think it's fair to say the Lavoot family is grateful you're here, and they invite you to share some food and memories in the social hall. Thank you all for being.
The slides are being read.
Didn't know it was going to work, so I didn't want to see it.
It's gonna work.
Okay. A plan is for the slides that will provide many memories of Ted to be shown in the sanctuary. So please remember to come in and take a look. Thank you all.
It's no ways, I was with you. It's always in your heart, but you can't sever that bond.
My condolences. I'm Howard's neighbor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
That is short side.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, you know.
Sorry about the loss of your husband. He's got a great son here. Good neighbor. So watch out.
I gotta make where.
I know.
He's paying our fines.
I didn't know they were coming in, they came knocking on my door to move my car. But we got out into.
I think I mentioned once or twice. Yeah, it's dropped him off. Oh yeah, you're up there. Cindy, yeah. I didn't know your last name, so however they checked in, I put Cindy.
I could only recognize you in your uniform.
I'll be great.
Yeah, sorry.